Of course. Why did I even bother trying to predict anything? It went exactly as what should really have been expected. Very little from Nintendo. But we're not just here to talk about Nintendo. We're going to talk about the whole Game Awards show in its entirety in this video. But we're going to start off with my predictions. Smash did make an appearance. Shortly after putting my prediction video out, Nintendo did put out a tweet saying they would announce a fighter at the Game Awards. Turned out to be Sephiroth, which was interesting, pretty cool. I've never played Final Fantasy. I don't know anything about the character, other than his name and that I've heard of him, and that's about it. But looks pretty cool, better than some of the other fighters in the DLC so far. But one thing that did bug me is Nintendo did show Bowser's Fury and Age of Calamity at points in the show as like advertising trailers or something, yet they didn't actually show anything of Bowser's Fury, and they didn't show DLC for Age of Calamity. Granted, a lot of people are telling me I was foolish for thinking there would be DLC for Age of Calamity, and I'm not like mad about that or anything. Like, Age of Calamity DLC, whatever, it was going to be a hit or miss. I'm not too bothered by the fact that there wasn't any at the show. But Bowser's Fury is something that shocked me, because I genuinely thought that was going to be there 100%. But I guess maybe Nintendo have something planned for January to reveal it. I absolutely have no idea. We didn't get any Zelda content. Nothing. Not even Breath of the Wild 2. I guess maybe they're going to wait till E3, or some people are thinking they've got a big direct plan for January or February, and that is possible. Maybe that's the case, but I wouldn't be betting anything on it. And then Metroid. I'm not surprised there's nothing Metroid related. Me personally, with Nintendo occasionally disappointing at E3 and occasionally disappointing at the Game Awards over the last few years. 2018's E3 was disappointing for Nintendo. 2019 was good, but they didn't really have any big games other than Breath of the Wild. And then obviously the Game Awards since 2018, because 2017 was their last good show, have been lackluster for Nintendo. So it is kind of ruining the hype for me. I'm at a point now where I feel like, is it even worth getting excited for E3 or the Game Awards when Nintendo never do what's expected of them or what seems the most logical course of action? But of course, the flip side to that is when they do show something then that we're not expecting, it completely throws us into a state of euphoria. So, I don't know, I'm not too mad about it, because as a Metroid fan, I'm well used to not seeing Metroid at all. I've been a fan since 2013, and I've only seen Metroid at E3 2015, E3 2017, and that's it. Those are the only two times Nintendo's ever had Metroid content in the time that I've been a fan of them. So yeah, you get used to it pretty quickly. But Samus and Fortnite, some of you may have seen my Master Chief reaction. By the way, I do want to point out, I did record my reaction to the full show. If some of you want to see that, I still have the footage. I am going to delete it because there wasn't a lot to react to and I was silent for most of it. But if you do want to see that, or if you want me to break it up into smaller bits, please let me know before the next couple of days, because that footage will be deleted. I'd happily upload it if that's something you're interested in seeing. Let me know down in the comment section below. No Bayonetta 3 or No More Heroes 3. No More Heroes 3 I can understand, because there was that tease with No More Heroes 1 and 2 that we got recently. So that's kind of had a recent enough reveal from Nintendo. So you can excuse that not showing up. But Bayonetta 3, again, I'm not surprised, because I wasn't expecting it to show up. Because as far as I'm concerned, the game doesn't exist. I don't know what's happening. I'm sure, yeah, people point out the game probably does exist, and that is the most likely course of action, but where is it? Like, I can't really fathom my head around what they're doing with the game, because Bayonetta 1 and 2 were fairly small games, relatively speaking. So what are they doing with 3 that's taken so long to do? Is it going to be like this massive open world thing? Is it going to be like 3-4 times the size of the previous games? One thing that is worth pointing out, though, is that, as we saw with the Elder Scrolls 6 and with Metroid Prime 4, and even if you want to go further back to Smash Bros. Brawl at E3 2005, I think it was, and there's plenty of other examples, sometimes games get announced before they start work, before they start development. Platinum Games did say they would show Bayonetta footage after Astral Chain came out. However, I'm starting to think, now that we've gone 3 full years without seeing the game, that they only started properly working on Bayonetta 3 after the release of Astral Chain. I feel like from 2017 up to 2019, they had ideas, but no fully fledged gameplay or anything like that. But of course, the contrary is they did have a cinematic trailer, and games usually only have that if they're actually somewhat far along in development. So that does seem to contradict my theory, but if I'm right, then Bayonetta 3 has only been in development properly for about a year, which would make much more sense for why we haven't seen it, or as I did in a video this time last year, why the voice actors haven't even heard anything about the game. It seems like Bayonetta 3 may have only just recently started development. That is entirely a theory. I could be completely wrong and the game is really far ahead and it's just a massive game. I have no idea. But that's the way I'm starting to look at it, because it doesn't make any sense why we've gone 3 full years for a reasonably small sized game and gotten absolutely nothing at all on it. So with Nintendo's side, the actual Game Awards show as a whole, outside of Nintendo and regardless of what they did, was rigged. I enjoyed the show for what it is as a celebration of video games and the community aspect of it. And I enjoyed some of the announcements. I thought Crimson Desert looked absolutely phenomenal. The next-gen visual look of that game is astounding. And I really wish I could play it, but obviously it's not on. I don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation or PC, so I can't play it. But man, I really would want to play it because it looks absolutely phenomenal. It really does. The hyper-realistic look to it is, it's on a whole other level, and the gameplay looks really fun. Outside that, there were some other announcements that were pretty cool, such as Arc 2 and Arc the Animated Series. But when it came to the actual awards themselves, it went exactly as everyone predicted. The Last of Us 2 won every single award in every category it was nominated for. Except, I think, for Best Music. I think that went to Final Fantasy. You gotta wonder, was the show rigged? It had to have been, because there's no way it wins Game of the Year. Because sure, okay, Last of Us 2, it's a divisive game. It has a straight 50-50 split on those who love it and those who hate it. But that's why it shouldn't be a contender for Game of the Year. That's why it shouldn't be Game of the Year. Compared to a game like Animal Crossing, and as everyone in the world has said about the game already, it came out at the perfect time. It was the perfect game for 2020. It kept people happy and distracted and kept them busy, and you know, they weren't focusing on the fear of what's going on in the real world around them. They had something fun and wholesome to enjoy, and it united people in a way that 2020 really needed. And that's why it should have gotten Game of the Year, because that is exactly what Game of the Year should be. A game like that, or even some of the other categories there are, like Ghost of Tsushima. But no, it went to The Last of Us, and that just shows how flawed this was and how definitely rigged the show was, because it doesn't make a lick of sense. I can understand, the only category I can really understand Last of Us winning was for accessibility. That was the only category it won that I was like, okay, that's fair. That's actually an award that I could see it winning legitimately. That's believable. But Game of the Year, and like, what, they got Best Action Game as well, and some other categories. Way too suspicious to be legitimate. In my reaction to it, I was enjoying the show for its celebration and stuff, but with the actual awards, it was complete BS. It really was. And then you go to the celebrity aspect of it, where they're bringing in Christopher Nolan, who you could tell had absolutely no interest in video games. He didn't care whatsoever about what he was doing. He was probably there just for the money. The same with the actor from Tenet, who you could tell was looking at like a script off the camera. If you pay attention to his eyes, he kept looking off camera. And then, of course, you had Brie Larson and Jacksepticeye and some of the other people who, I'm sure, obviously, they're all fine people, but in terms of their relation to gaming, with the exception of Jacksepticeye, only like 2 or 3 of them had any real connection to gaming, and they didn't even announce stuff related to games. Like Tom Holland didn't announce anything related to Spider-Man or to Uncharted, for example. And that's a problem because you're bringing in these big names and it's just for attracting viewers' attention. And to be fair, it is a big show. That's exactly what they need to do to be able to afford to pay for everything that they've done. It is understandable, but at the same time, it doesn't fit within the scope of what the Game Awards is supposed to be. And I'm acting like this is the first year that they've ever done this. Obviously, they've done this every single year since 2014. I know, I'm aware. But this year, by the end of the show, I was extremely bored. And I've seen a few other people comment that as well. It got boring and stale by the end of it. And I'm never bored with these shows. I enjoy them, regardless of the quality. But I was thoroughly bored by the end of it. It was a worse show than last year. It really, really was. And, man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I may have been disappointed. I may be talking all negative about it. But I'm still going to watch it. And we're going to be in this exact same position in December of next year. I will be doing a prediction video. None of my predictions will show up at the Game Awards. That's just how it is. You know, I'm heavily involved with Nintendo and I have a keen interest in the Game Awards and what Jeff Keighley is trying to do. So of course I'm going to be here next year regardless of what happens. It's the same reason I watch Nintendo at E3. Even though typically they're hit or miss. You're either going to be in extreme euphoria or extreme depression. Those are the only two outcomes you're going to get. Those are my thoughts on the Game Awards 2020 as a whole. Overall, some solid and interesting announcements, some pretty cool announcements. Very lackluster from Nintendo. Obviously, the awards themselves were very rigged, and it was just disappointing to see, and the show itself got boring pretty quick. But let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. Maybe you guys absolutely loved it. Did you guys enjoy it? Was there something you were hoping to see that appeared there? What do you think of Sephiroth and Smash? What do you think of some of these games like Crimson Desert? Or what do you think of the new Mass Effect? Or anything else? The Last of Us winning Game of the Year. I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching and please subscribe. Novus Corves out.